Restorers were cleaning walls in the Vatican when they uncovered the work of a 500-year-old master. Despite the fact that the Vatican City in Rome is the world's smallest country, it has one of the most stunning collections of old masters' art anywhere on the planet. This unique collection, boasting works from the likes of Michelangelo, Raphael, and Leonardo da Vinci, requires constant care and periodic restoration. A good example of this is the restoration of one of the most famous of artworks, Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel ceiling frescoes, created between 1508 and 1512. Commissioned by Pope Julius II, these exquisite works were in sore need of restoration by the time of an investigation in 1979. The investigation showed that the ceiling was stained by smoke from thousands of candles, and it had also suffered from water leakage. Fortunately, Michelangelo had been a master of fresco techniques. Consequently, his painting had stood the test of time well despite its coating of grime and grease. The restoration attracted much controversy, with some art historians vehemently opposed to it, but the procedure went ahead and it revealed the luminous colors that had been hidden by the coating of dirt for so long. Supporters of the restoration were happy to see the luminous colors, while opponents remained unconvinced. A prominent supporter of the Sistine Chapel restoration, the erstwhile Director General of the Vatican Museums, Carlo Pietrangelo, wrote in the foreword to The Sistine Chapel, a book edited by Massimo Giacometti, "It's like opening a window in a dark room and seeing it flood with light." Many others have agreed with this judgment. However, the entire controversy shows how intense the debate around conservation can become. In March of 2015, conservators at the Vatican started a less controversial, though hardly less important, project at the Vatican Palace. This was the conservation and restoration of the stunning frescoes in the Vatican Palace's Constantine Hall, painted by Raphael. In fact, the artist and his assistants painted frescoes in 4 rooms at the palace, which have come to be known as the Raphael rooms. Raffaello Sanzio da Urbina, to give him his full name, was born in 1483 in the Italian city of Urbino. His father was a court painter there for the Duke of Urbino. By the time he was 11, both of Raphael's natural parents were dead, and he was brought up by his stepmother, his father's second wife. Raphael showed talent as an artist from an early age and is said to have helped his father in his work. However, the details of Raphael's training as an artist are somewhat murky. Be that as it may, he was almost certainly apprenticed to a master while still young. He probably worked as an assistant to the Umbrian artist Pietro Perugino, one of whose works is shown here from about 1500 when Raphael was 16 or 17. The first certain Raphael work was an altarpiece completed in 1501 for the St. Nicholas of Tolentino church at Città di Castello, a town about 30 miles from Urbino. Success as an artist seems to have come early for Raphael. Consequently, he was commissioned to do work in other churches and in the city of Siena. Raphael's burgeoning talent was evidently quickly recognized. In 1508, he and members of his studio were summoned by Pope Julius II to Rome. There they worked on the 4 rooms at the Vatican Palace mentioned earlier. Their brief was to completely redecorate the interior of each room. This was a signal honor for an artist so young. Indeed, Raphael was still only 25. In fact, Raphael is widely acknowledged as one of the trinity that forms the core of the great artists of the High Renaissance in Italy. The other 2 are Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci. Eminent company indeed. Michelangelo, 30 years Raphael's senior, is said to have intensely disliked the younger artist. Perhaps he was jealous of Raphael's youthful success. One of the 4 rooms was the Sala di Constantino, or Hall of Constantine, named for the Roman Emperor Constantine. Constantine ruled from 306 to 337 and was distinguished by the fact that he was the first emperor to convert to Christianity, although not until he was near death. Nevertheless, he was and is a revered figure within the Catholic Church. Raphael first started work on the Room of the Signatura, which was where Julius II kept his library. This not only housed an important collection of books, but also acted as a storehouse for significant Vatican documents. The first fresco that Raphael worked on was the Disputation of the Holy Sacrament, shown above. This portrays both the worldly and the heavenly church. Raphael then went on to paint the Room of Heliodorus, a private room that the Pope likely used for audiences. This was followed by the third of the 4 chambers, the fire in the Borgo room. It was named for the story of an earlier pope extinguishing a serious fire in Rome by making the sign of the cross. This left the largest room, the Hall of Constantine, to do. By the time this project was due to start, Pope Julius II had died in 1513, to be succeeded by Pope Leo X, who continued the decoration work. Unfortunately, there had also been another important death, that of Raphael himself at the tragically young age of 37 on Good Friday in 1520. Raphael's death meant that for many years it was believed none of his original painting was in the Constantine Hall. Rather, the frescoes there were actually the work of members of his studio and other artists. But a stunning find during the restoration of the hall has turned that idea on its head. It turns out 2 of the figures in the elaborate frescoes on the Constantine Hall walls are now believed to have been painted by Raphael himself rather than by one of his assistants. This did not become apparent until the restoration work on the hall got underway. The discovery of 2 new works by Raphael is an astonishing event in the art world. The Italian newspaper La Stampa quoted one of the conservators, Fabio Piacentini, as saying, "By analyzing the painting, we realized that it is certainly by the great master Raphael. He painted in oil on the wall, which is a really special technique. The cleaning and removal of centuries of previous restorations revealed the typical pictorial features of the master." One of the 2 newly discovered figures represents justice, the other friendship. Justice is shown here, while friendship is shown here. The use of oil to paint is itself unusual and not the commonly used technique of fresco painting. Arnold Nezelrath of the Vatican Museums told La Stampa, "Raphael was a great adventurer in painting and was always trying something different." A haunting truth about these 2 figures is that they're very likely to have been the final works that Raphael painted before his untimely death. We can only speculate about what further masterpieces Raphael would have left us had he lived longer. Share this video with your friends below.